Something major is unfolding right now inside the world's second largest economy, and most Western investors have no idea it's happening. While financial media debates interest rates and short-term moves, Chinese banks are making decisions that could permanently reshape the global silver market. Major state-owned banks in China are signaling stress. Shelves are empty. Demand is overwhelming supply. And behind the scenes, Chinese financial institutions have issued a prediction that should force anyone paying attention to stop and reassess everything they think they know about silver. These are not fringe analysts or social media speculators. These are state-backed Chinese banks, institutions with direct access to government policy and real-time economic data. And they are projecting that the silver market could reach $7.5 trillion by the second quarter of 2026. Let that number sink in. $7.5 trillion. That figure is so large it's difficult to even conceptualize, but it didn't come from a tweet or a marketing pitch. It came from institutions that operate at the center of China's financial system, institutions that don't make public projections without a strategic reason. And here's where this story stops being theoretical. While these banks are projecting a multi-trillion-dollar silver market, they are simultaneously running out of silver products. State-owned banks cannot keep silver on their shelves. Pre-sale products are selling out months ahead of schedule. Customers are being placed on waiting lists with no clear restock timelines. Before we go any further, understand this. Information like this doesn't appear on headlines when it matters. It surfaces quietly, through data, through policy signals, through shortages that most people won't notice until the move is already well underway. If you want to stay ahead of what's unfolding, make sure you're paying attention now, not after the narrative changes. Now let's break down what Chinese banks are predicting, why silver is disappearing from their shelves, and what this signals for the global market moving forward. The demand is so overwhelming, so unprecedented, that major state-owned banks are selling out of silver products faster than they can restock them. I am looking at reports from Cailian Press, one of China's major financial news outlets. They sent reporters to investigate what is happening at the major Chinese banks, and what they found should terrify every short seller on the planet. The mobile banking apps of ICBC, the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, and the Agricultural Bank of China are showing silver products marked as sold out or temporarily out of stock. Let me put this in perspective for you. ICBC is the largest bank in the world by total assets. It is not some small regional bank. It is not a boutique precious metals dealer. It is the largest bank on planet Earth, and they cannot keep silver products in stock. Their mobile app is showing product after product is temporarily out of stock. The official status reads, and I quote, "This product is temporarily out of stock." One product in particular caught my attention. It is called the Chinese Dragon Silver Smart Card Miracle of the Dragon Group 1. This was a pre-sale item distributed by ICBC. There were approximately 69 days remaining until the planned end of the pre-sale period. 69 days, and it's sold out. Over 27,000 sets have been sold so far, and there is no more inventory left. When reporters contacted ICBC customer service, they were told that the products are temporarily sold out with no definite time for restocking. The customer service representative literally told them to keep an eye on updates. This is not normal. This is not how the world's largest bank operates. The world's largest bank does not run out of products 69 days before the pre-sale is supposed to end. The world's largest bank does not tell customers to keep an eye on updates because they have no idea when they will get more inventory. This is panic buying on a scale that is overwhelming the infrastructure of the Chinese banking system, and ICBC is not alone. The Agricultural Bank of China, another massive state-owned institution, is experiencing the same thing. Their mobile banking app shows multiple silver products completely sold out. The 2G Heritage Fortune Abundant Silver Fish is sold out. The 15G Heritage Zodiac Horse Silver Pendant is sold out. The official status indicates sold out, but customers can register for back orders. They are literally asking customers to get in line for products that do not exist yet. Even more telling, a 500 gear year of the Horse Zodiac silver bar that was about to go on sale is already showing as low stock. It is not even launched yet, and it is already running low. The demand is so intense that products are being depleted before they even officially hit the market. Now, I want you to think about what this means. Chinese state-owned banks are selling out of silver products. Customers are lining up for back orders. Pre-sale items are selling out months ahead of schedule, and at the same time, Chinese financial institutions are predicting a $7.5 trillion silver market cap. These two pieces of information are not unrelated. They are telling the same story from different angles. The story is this: China knows something. China is positioning for something. And whatever that something is, it involves silver. But wait, there is more, because this silver shortage at Chinese banks is not happening in a vacuum. It is happening at the exact same time that the Chinese government has launched a massive new initiative called the silver economy. Now, before you get confused, let me explain what the silver economy is. In Chinese policy circles, the silver economy refers to economic activity related to the aging population. It is called silver because of the silver hair associated with elderly citizens. But here's where it gets interesting. The policies being implemented under this initiative have significant implications for actual silver, the metal, the element Ag on the periodic table. The Chinese government has just launched several new measures aimed at boosting the silver economy, targeting its over 60 population of 310 million people. Let me repeat that number, 310 million people. That is nearly the entire population of the United States. And these are not young people with decades of debt ahead of them. These are older citizens with savings. These are people who remember when currencies failed. These are people who understand through lived experience the importance of holding real assets. The new policies were unveiled at a press conference hosted by China's Ministry of Civil Affairs. Officials stated that developing the silver economy is vital for addressing the challenges of an aging population and enhancing their well-being. But they also said something else that caught my attention. They said it plays a key role in creating new economic growth opportunities and expanding domestic demand. Creating new economic growth opportunities, expanding domestic demand. This is code for redirecting consumption. This is code for encouraging 310 million Chinese seniors to spend their money in specific ways. And when you look at what is happening at Chinese banks, when you see silver products selling out faster than they can be restocked, you start to understand what those specific ways might include. The government official stated, and I quote, "We aim to integrate elderly care services with consumer opportunities, making age-friendly products more accessible." They are talking about integrating services with consumer opportunities. They are talking about creating channels for spending, and one of those channels clearly is precious metals. The Chinese government is also encouraging e-commerce platforms to optimize seniors' retail services with dedicated silver shopping channels. They are literally creating special shopping channels for older citizens. They are making it easier for 310 million people to buy what they want to buy. And what do Chinese seniors want to buy? Based on the sold-out shelves at ICBC and Agricultural Bank of China, they want to buy silver. Let me give you some numbers that will blow your mind. Within only 10 years, China's over 60 population is expected to grow by 30% to 400 million people. 400 million. That is more than the entire population of the United States. That is more than the entire population of Western Europe. And these 400 million people will be encouraged by government policy to participate in the silver economy. Today, China's silver economy is estimated to be worth 7 trillion yuan, which translates to approximately 1.5 trillion Australian dollars. But within a decade, the sector is forecast to be worth more than 4 times that amount, 30 trillion yuan, which is about 6.4 trillion Australian dollars. This would represent 10% of China's entire GDP. Now here's where I want you to connect the dots. Chinese banks are predicting a $7.5 trillion silver market cap. The Chinese silver economy, targeting seniors, is projected to reach $6.4 trillion. These numbers are not coincidental. The Chinese government is creating the demand. The Chinese banks are predicting the result. It is a coordinated strategy that the Western world is completely ignoring. But there is another layer to the story that makes it even more compelling. The performance of silver in 2026 has been nothing short of spectacular. According to market data, as of late January, the intraday high for spot silver in London reached $9,542 per ounce. The cumulative increase so far this year is nearly 32%. Compare that to gold, which has gained only 12.7%. Silver is outperforming gold by a factor of more than 2.1. This outperformance is not random. It is not a technical fluke. It is the result of structural supply and demand imbalances that are finally being priced into the market. The Chinese banks are not just observing this trend, they are accelerating it. Bank employees interviewed by Kalian Press stated that there has been a noticeable increase in customers inquiring about or purchasing silver products. One employee said, and I quote, "Many customers come because of rising silver prices, seeking suitable investment options." Another explained, "Both gold and silver prices are rising now. A while ago, more people bought gold, but now many are buying silver. There might be short-term supply shortages. Did you catch that?" The bank employees are acknowledging that demand has shifted from gold to silver. They are acknowledging that supply shortages are occurring. They are on the front lines of this phenomenon, and they are telling us exactly what is happening. But here is the detail that really tells you how serious the situation has become. The Shanghai Futures Exchange has implemented multiple risk control measures for silver futures. On January 7th, they adjusted trading limits, margin requirements, daily price fluctuation thresholds, and transaction fees. On January 16th, they issued another notice adjusting trading limits for silver and nickel futures contracts. When an exchange starts raising margin requirements and adjusting trading limits, it means they are scared. It means they see volatility coming that could threaten the stability of the market. It means the price action they are witnessing is so intense that they need to put guardrails in place to prevent a complete meltdown. This is what happens when demand overwhelms supply. This is what happens when 310 million people decide they want the same asset. This is what happens when state policy aligns with market forces to create a perfect storm. Now let me bring this back to you. Why should you, sitting in the United States or Europe or Australia or wherever you are watching this, care about what is happening in Chinese banks? Why should the sold-out status of a Chinese Dragon Silver smart card matter to your portfolio? The answer is simple. Silver is a global market with finite supply. When Chinese demand explodes, it does not just affect Chinese prices, it affects global prices. It affects the availability of silver in London. It affects the premiums at your local coin shop. It affects the inventories at the COMEX. The silver that Chinese banks are selling, the silver that Chinese seniors are buying is coming from somewhere. And that somewhere includes the global supply that would otherwise be available to you. We have seen this movie before. We saw it last year when Indian demand drained liquidity from London. We saw it when premiums in Turkey hit $9 over spot. We are seeing it now as Chinese state banks sell out of products months ahead of schedule. The pattern is clear. Eastern demand is overwhelming Western supply, and the price is just beginning to reflect this reality. The analyst Wang Yangqing from CSC Financial Futures stated that the long-term trend in silver prices is easy to rise but hard to fall. He identified multiple factors driving this trend. First, safe haven demand and liquidity provide a foundation for silver's upward movement. Second, structural supply-demand imbalances serve as the core driver of silver price increases. Structural supply-demand imbalances, this is the key phrase. This is not about speculation. This is not about momentum. Traders chasing a hot asset. This is about the fundamental mismatch between how much silver the world produces and how much silver the world wants to consume. And that imbalance is getting worse, not better. China does not produce enough silver domestically to meet its needs. They are net importers of silver. Every ounce that goes into a Chinese bank product, every gram that a Chinese senior adds to their collection is an ounce that must be imported from the global market. And as 310 million seniors are encouraged by government policy to participate in precious metals consumption, those imports are going to accelerate. Think about the logistics of what I am describing. You have the world's largest bank selling out of silver products. You have the fourth largest bank selling out of silver products. You have government policy explicitly designed to encourage senior spending on age-friendly products, which clearly includes precious metals. You have a population of 310 million that is growing to 400 million. And you have a prediction from Chinese financial institutions of a $7.5 trillion silver market cap. This is not a drill. This is not a theory. This is happening right now in real time. And most Western investors have no idea. Let me now talk about what makes this Chinese silver demand fundamentally different from previous demand cycles. In the past, precious metals demand from Asia was often characterized as jewelry demand or festival demand. The Western analysts would dismiss it. They would say it is just cultural, it is just traditional, it does not reflect real investment sentiment. But that narrative is breaking down. What we are seeing now is not grandmother buying a silver anklet for a festival. What we are seeing is sophisticated retail investors accessing silver through mobile banking apps. What we are seeing is pre-sale investment products selling out months ahead of schedule. Now, what we are seeing is bank employees reporting that customers are coming specifically because of rising silver prices seeking investment options. This is investment demand. This is strategic accumulation. This is 310 million people making a conscious decision to convert their UN savings into hard assets. And unlike Western retail investors who often use leverage and margin, Chinese retail buyers are purchasing with cash. They are not going to be shaken out by volatility. They are not going to face margin calls. They are buying to hold. One analyst quoted in the report stated that most retail silver purchases in China are made fully in cash rather than on margin. So even if prices pull back, many will simply hold on or even use dips to add to positions. This is the definition of strong hands. This is demand that does not retreat when prices fall. This is demand that sees lower prices as opportunities rather than threats. Now, let me tell you about the technology angle because it adds another dimension to this story. The silver economy policies announced by the Chinese government include developing advanced technologies for elderly care. They are talking about exoskeleton robots and muscle suits to help older citizens with declining physical functions. They are talking about elder care robotics, medical services, and smart home technologies. They're talking about high-end medical devices like cochlear implants and rehabilitation training systems. Guess what? All of these technologies require silver. The medical devices require silver for its antibacterial properties. The electronics require silver for its conductivity. The robotics require silver for electrical contacts. The smart home technologies require silver for sensors and connections. The very technologies being developed to serve the aging population are technologies that consume silver. So you have a double effect. On one hand, you have government policy encouraging seniors to consume precious metals as a store of value. On the other hand, you have government policy funding technologies that require silver as an industrial input. The demand is coming from both directions. It is coming from investment and it is coming from industry. It is a pincer movement on the available supply. The regional governments in China are not waiting for the central government to act. They are implementing their own initiatives. The government in Zhejiang province in eastern China is developing streets specifically designed to cater to the needs and interests of older residents. They are building theaters with nostalgic themes. They are creating retro-style dance halls. They are organizing social programs in HEO, and they have already organized more than 570 activities, including art, photography, fashion, and woodcraft, generating more than 100 million yuan in personal spending. 100 million yuan from 570 activities in one province. Scale that across the entire country. Scale that across 310 million people. Scale that over the next decade. As the population grows to 400 million, the numbers become staggering. The consumption becomes industrial in scale. Now, I want to address the skeptics because I know there are people watching this who are thinking that I am exaggerating. They are thinking that Chinese bank products selling out does not mean there is a global silver shortage. They are thinking that the silver economy is about elder care, not precious metals. They are thinking that the $7.5 trillion prediction is just marketing hype. To those skeptics, I say this: you are missing the forest for the trees. Yes, individual data points can be explained away. Yes, there are nuances and caveats to every piece of information. But when you step back and look at the entire picture, when you see state banks selling out, government policy encouraging precious metals consumption, financial institutions predicting multi-trillion-dollar market caps, exchanges raising margin requirements, and analysts stating that silver is easy to rise but hard to fall, the pattern is undeniable. Something is happening in China, something big. And the people who recognize it early, the people who position themselves before the Western media catches on, those are the people who will benefit from the repricing that is coming. Let me now talk about what this means for the global silver market structure. The LBMA in London and the COMEX in New York have long been the price-setting mechanisms for silver. Western paper markets have determined the global spot price that everyone else trades against, but that system is coming under increasing strain. When Chinese demand is so intense that state banks cannot keep products in stock, when Indian demand is so strong that premiums hit $9 over spot, when Turkish refiners are sold out for 10 days straight, the paper price in London starts to look increasingly disconnected from physical reality. The price on the screen says one thing, the availability of actual metal says another. This disconnect is not sustainable. Either prices rise to ration demand and incentivize supply, or the physical market completely decouples from the paper market. Either way, the current situation cannot persist. Something has to give. And based on everything I'm seeing, what gives is going to be the price. The price is going to rise until demand and supply balance. And given the structural nature of the demand from China and the constraints on supply, that balancing price is going to be significantly higher than where we are today. $7.5 trillion is a big number. It implies a silver price that is multiples of current levels. But when you understand the forces driving that prediction, when you see the sold-out banks and the government policies and the demographic shifts, it starts to look not just plausible, but inevitable. Now, I want to give you some practical perspective on how to think about this opportunity. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to buy or sell. What I am doing is sharing information that I believe is important and underappreciated by Western markets. First, understand that this is a long-term structural shift, not a short-term trade. The silver economy policies are designed to unfold over years and decades. The demographic shifts in China will take a decade to fully manifest. This is not about catching the next two move. This is about positioning for a multi-year repricing. Second, understand that volatility is the price of admission. The Shanghai Futures Exchange is raising margin requirements because they expect volatility. The prices are going to swing. There will be days when silver drops $3 or $4 and the mainstream media declares the bull market over. Ignore the noise. Focus on the structural picture. Third, understand the difference between paper and physical. When Chinese state banks sell out of physical products, that tells you something about physical demand. The paper markets can be manipulated in the short term, but over time, physical reality always wins. If you want to participate in this opportunity, consider how paper versus physical exposure fits your strategy. Fourth, understand that the Western media will be late to the story. They always are. By the time CNBC is running segments about Chinese silver demand, the move will be well underway. The advantage goes to those who pay attention to what is happening in Asia, who read the Chinese press reports, who understand that the world does not revolve around the Federal Reserve. I want to close with a thought about what this moment represents. We are witnessing a generational shift in the global monetary order. The dollar's dominance is being challenged. The Western financial system's control over commodity pricing is being eroded. The rise of Asia and China in particular is reshaping flows of capital and commodities in ways that most Western investors do not understand. Silver is at the intersection of all of these forces. It is a monetary metal with a 5,000-year history as money. It is an industrial metal essential to the technologies of the future. It is a cultural asset deeply embedded in Asian traditions. And now it is a policy priority for the government of the world's second largest economy. The sold-out shelves at ICBC and Agricultural Bank of China are not a glitch. They are a signal. The $7.5 trillion prediction is not hype. It is a roadmap. The silver economy policies are not about elder care. They are about directing the savings of 310 million people into specific channels. Pay attention to what China is doing. Pay attention to what they are saying. And most importantly, pay attention to what they are buying. Because when the world's largest bank cannot keep silver on its shelves, something very big is happening. This is Mr. AG Asian Guy bringing you the silver analysis from an Asian perspective that the Western media ignores. If this video opened your eyes, if it showed you something you did not know before, smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, drop a comment below telling me what you think about the $7.5 trillion prediction. The Chinese Dragon Silver Smart Card sold out 69 days early. The question is, will you be prepared before the rest of the world catches on? Stay smart, stay positioned, and remember, in a world of paper promises, AG is the way.